The future moves fast. The AvePoint Shift Happens podcast is your edge, where leaders unpack AI, data, modern work, and the mindset shifts that turn change into advantage. Hear what top innovators are trying next and how to make it work. Visit avpt.co/shift today.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is toxic workplaces. More specifically, the signs that you're working for a toxic boss. Now, I came to this discussion because if you follow the podcast, and I mean, there's over 600 episodes, I've done episodes on signs of a toxic coworker, signs of a toxic workplace. But more specifically on this episode, we're going to talk about your interactions with your boss. How do you know if your boss is toxic? I came across this meme that was floating around, and I was like, yo, this is perfect. I saw it on, I want to say I saw it on Blue Sky, and shout out to Blue Sky. You can follow me there at 12 Kyle, as well as 12 Kyle podcast and the Rap Soul podcast on Blue Sky. But yeah, I saw this meme and it made a lot of sense. And it as I was looking at it, I was asking myself, you know, have I ever had like a toxic boss? Now, full disclosure, personally, me, 12 Kyle, I don't refer to people as my boss. Even where I work now, there's someone that I report to, but I don't call them my boss. I call them my supervisor. I've always used the word supervisor. or supervisor or manager, you know, something like that. I've never called anybody my boss because at the end of the day, nobody's the boss of me. I know it sounds simplistic, but that's just how I'm wired. Like I would never call someone my boss. Like, hey, I'm hanging out with my boss today. I'm going to get my boss some coffee. No, I'm going to get Joey some coffee. I'm going to get Ricky me and Ricky are going to lunch. No, I'm not going to lunch with my boss because I've never had a boss, because I don't refer to my superiors at work as a boss. But for the sake of this discussion, we're going to use the word boss because, quite frankly, there's probably a lot of you who listen and watch on YouTube. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. There's probably more than a few of you that refer to the people that you report to as your boss. And it's cool. And don't get me wrong. Listen, it's cool. I'm just telling you what I don't do. I just don't refer to anybody as my boss. So now that we got that out the way, there are some signs that you're working for someone or working with someone who is toxic. Now, the interesting thing about, you know, reporting or having to deal with someone who is toxic, someone that's your boss, is that, you know, let's just get the elephant out of the room. We spend a lot of time at work, right? I mean, most of us have at least 8-hour work days, right? And given the fact that you spend so much time at work, I'm not saying that everybody has to be friends with every coworker or friends with every boss or anything like that. You know, I think ultimately you want to be cordial. You want to be able to get along and you know, move in the same spaces. But, you know, are you going to have to be friends to the point where you go get beers after work? No, you don't have to be like that. But, you know, there has to be some type of clarity between what you are and how you're going to conduct yourself. I always said this, and I mentioned it on previous episodes, and it's worth repeating. I don't need friends at work. I've been able to gain some friends along the way, and I think that's been dope. But there's only two things I ever wanted from work. Give me my check and give me some respect. That's it. I mean, after that, you can go your way, I can go mine, because trust me, I'm one of those people that I truly always have and always will. When work is over, and at the time when I was going into an office, when I hit the door, I left work right there at the door. I don't take work into the car with me and on the way home, and I damn sure don't bring work into my living space. Now, and I don't mean like work where I'm actually working. I'm just talking about the mentality of worrying about what's going on at work. And I was always able to compartmentalize and leave, whatever stress or problems that's going on at work at work, and not take it into my house. Because I think a lot of us tend to do that at times. And over time things have changed. I'll be honest, because like in my profession, there was a time where, the idea of working from home was like nonsensical. Like nobody wanted you to do that. Like they'd almost cut off your head for even thinking about, hey, you could work from home. No, but now, since the pandemic, nobody works in the office. Everybody works from home, and a lot of people in my profession do that. So, and that's cool. But anyway, I wanted to just kind of give you that background, because again, I don't refer to people as my boss. Have I had, supervisors and managers along the way? Of course. Have they all been great? No. I've worked with some really great ones. I'll be honest. I really worked with some really, really good ones. And if you've been following the podcast, I did have one asshole and she knows who she is. And I may or may not reference her in this episode. Probably will. That being said, how do you know if you're working for a toxic boss? There's signs, and I've got a few signs, and we'll run through them. Obviously, the first sign that you're working for a toxic boss is, one, you're being micromanaged. You feel like you're being watched 24/7. I don't know how people can be productive if you're micromanaging them. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, if there are people who are underperforming, and they're watching to see what it is that you're doing, maybe. But the thing about that is that when you have that eye on you and you feel that eye burning on the back of your skull, how can you work and be productive like that? And it doesn't matter what line. It doesn't matter if you're the guy working fries or you're working at Home Depot, or you're working in an office job. I mean, like, I don't necessarily know how you can be productive if you feel like you're being micromanaged. One of the questions I always ask when I'm in interviews is, I ask the manager or the supervisor or whomever I would be working or reporting to, what's your managing style? How do you get along with your employees? And how they answer that is really telling as to whether or not I'm going to take the job or not, or how I will maneuver once I get the job. Because I think that's very important. If you're hands off, if you are someone who has an open door policy, but you're not watching them every move that they make and handling them like an adult, yeah, we can work together. But if you're worried about the fact that they left at 1:00 and they came back at at 2:15, they took an hour and 15-minute lunch break. If you're worried about stuff like that, we probably won't mesh. And that's not to say that I'm incapable of following instructions, because I can. But nobody wants to feel like they're being micromanaged, and nobody wants to feel like they're being watched. And I don't know how you can perform at your best if you're being watched 24/7. If someone's worried about, if your supervisor or boss is worried about how much time you're spending on your personal calls, or if you're, if you're heating up fish in the microwave, or if you're, spending too much time at the water cooler chit-chatting with coworkers, if they're worried about that, then they're worried about the wrong thing, and you probably aren't good at that job. And what's even worse is they're probably not that good at that job either. Let's see. And these are in no particular order. Number 2, no career growth. If you have one sign of a toxic boss is that there's no career growth, there's no training, there's no promotions. I think that's something that's very key. Anytime that you get a job, you need to look around and see what your peers are doing as far as like, achieving goals and things of that nature, because ultimately that's going to be you. You're going to be the one, as you move in your tenure in that particular company or wherever you're working, promotions and things of that nature are very important. I would think so. But if you don't see any growth, that could be problematic. And it could be a direct sign of a toxic boss is that they're not promoting people. One of the things that I always say when I'm in an interview is that, I always ask the question about career growth. And the reason being is that, and my response is always, if you hire me and I'm sitting in the same seat that you hired me to be in, if I'm still sitting in the same seat 3 years from now, then I feel like I failed you and you failed me, because I should be on a trajectory to move forward and move higher. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm coming for your job. I may have bigger aspirations than your job. But at the end of the day, if you don't see any career growth, if you don't see where they're training people, if you don't see where there's promotions are going on, it's probably signs that you have a toxic boss, because your boss is probably the one that's blocking all of that. What else? Another sign that you may have a toxic boss is your PTO and leave time. If they are shaming you for it and they discourage rest. Over my career, I can honestly say that's probably happened a lot more than I'm willing to admit, or actually I can admit. It's probably happened a whole lot. Your time off is your time off. And I get it. Everybody can't take off, the week of the 4th of July, and everybody can't take off the week of Christmas, and everybody can't take off the day, the day after Thanksgiving, if, particularly if your company's open, or the week of Christmas. I get it. It really just depends on where you work and what type of job that you have. Now, if you work at Walmart, taking a day off after Thanksgiving probably is not going to happen for you. I'm going to keep it a bean with you. It's probably not going to happen, because that's probably one of the busiest times that Walmart will have, because it's the start of the Christmas holidays. But if you work at a office and you're an administrative assistant and you can't take off the day after Thanksgiving, or you have to, let's say you can't take the day off because Ron is getting the day off, and Ron has been here 3 years and you've been here 1 year. That's ridiculous. That's PTO shaming and leave shaming. And honestly, jobs should encourage you to take your time off, encourage you to rest, encourage you to worry and be more concerned about your mental health. And I can honestly say, I don't know that I've ever heard any employer prior to COVID happening really go above and beyond mentioning being concerned about their employees' mental health and well-being. I haven't heard. I definitely didn't hear it in any company that I work for. And I work for quite a few companies. Never heard it before. And I remember distinctly one particular company I worked for. There was it wasn't even a holiday, right? It was just a regular weekend, and I put in a request to take off like Friday and Monday because I was my wife and I were flying to DC for a wedding. One of my best friends, his sister was getting married, and we wanted to come up there and support and see them and show love. And I'd already purchased my tickets, right? And this was I've never been someone who has like called out, last minute or anything like that. I don't do that. I always, unless I'm sick. And I've probably called out sick in my whole career, maybe 4 times in my life. Anyway, long story short, so I send the request, to take the PTO day. And this is a month in advance. And my supervisor, my boss said, well, she responded. She said, well, hey, Kyle, you can't take those 2 days off because we will be short staffed if you do. We don't have enough people, here or whatever like that. And I responded, I said, well, hey, I'm taking the day off because I've already paid for plane tickets. I'm flying from Atlanta to Baltimore. It's a wrap. Unless you're going to pay me for unless you're going to pay for these plane tickets I just purchased, I'm taking that day off, those 2 days off. And when I mentioned about the plane tickets, she, emailed me back. She said, okay, well, hey, next time, just kind of give us a heads up before you pay for flight. Say what? What are you talking about? Like, I don't have to clear my personal dealings with you. Now if it were the day, if I was taking Friday and Monday off and I told you on Thursday, kind of different story because, I'm not calling out, I'm requesting the day off, but I've earned those PTO days. That's the thing. Companies don't understand. You earn those days or you're given those days. So really and truly, are you really in a position to tell me when and where I can take my days? Technically, you can't. And I want to say, and I can say this without actually looking it up. I'm pretty sure that it's against some type of law. I'm pretty sure they're breaking some type of labor law by trying to regulate your days. But they can't. Honestly, they can't. So I would, that right there, probably particularly at that particular time, was the last straw for me in that company. And I want to say by the next spring, I was out of there. So probably about 4 or 5 months after that, I was out of there. In fact, I started looking right after that exchange. But yeah, so anytime they try to shame you as far as your PTO time, and they're not encouraging you to rest and get time away from work, spend time with your family, having what they call a work-life balance. Anytime that happens, that's a sign that you're probably working for a toxic boss. What's another sign? If there's a lack of vision, like there's no clear goals or drive as to what they want from you, that's probably a sign. You're probably working for a toxic boss. Your boss should have a vision for what they want to see in you. You should have your own goals. You should have your own drive. You should have your own ideas to where you want to be. But they also should have something where they see for you and be able to tell you systematically and over a period of time how and where you're going to get to those points. But if there's no vision, no clear goals or any type of drive, yeah, you're probably working for a toxic boss. What's another one? Oh, blame culture. Listen, if you are working for an employer and you're constantly being blamed for stuff, or someone else is constantly being blamed for stuff and no mistakes are being allowed, yeah, you're definitely working for a toxic boss. And you probably should run. Because here's the thing. Nobody's perfect, right? Everybody makes mistakes. Are some mistakes bigger than others? Of course, right? There's certain things that you can't do. There's certain things that you're trained not to do. I get that, so forth and so on, right? But at the end of the day, like, when nobody's willing to accept responsibility and you're constantly being blamed or you're pointing the finger, you may have a toxic boss. And the thing that I found is that toxic bosses usually revel in that type of stuff. Like they love it for whatever reason, other than the fact that it's just messy. When there's nothing but finger pointing, that's a problem. It's extremely problematic. Another thing, if you don't have any clarity as far as your role, and it kind of goes back to the lack of vision, no role clarity. You don't have metrics that you have to meet. Anything like that, then that's definitely a sign that you are working for a toxic boss. That's not cool. I mean, like, if you don't have metrics, then how do you know if you're succeeding at your job? I mean, that's a very simple question. And honestly, it's a question that probably most of us should ask in the interviewing process. How will I know if I'm succeeding in this job? How will I know if I'm failing? Because here's the thing. If you don't have metrics and tiers as far as what you need to hit, then how can I measure as to what I'm doing or not doing, or even better, if I'm exceeding those metrics, how can I ask you for a raise or promotion if I don't know where the target is? If my goal is to hit 7 and I'm hitting 9, but I don't know the difference between 7 and 9, then, I mean, what am I doing? Like, I don't know where that goes from there. And sometimes toxic bosses will rather keep you ignorant about stuff like that before anything else. And you have to be aware of that. I think that's very important. And it's something that can really weigh on an employee. And you don't want that. You really don't. And right now it's time for a quick commercial break. Sit tight. On the other side of the break, I'll give you a few more signs that you're working for a toxic boss. Sit tight. I'll be back in just a second.
Today's tip from the injury law firm Greenberg and Betterman. Too many pedestrians lose themselves in their phones and have accidents when they walk. So don't do it. Greenberg and Betterman is here to help you. Contact gblawyers.com. That's gblawyers.com and feel better.
And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy 12 Kyle. This is the 12 Kyle podcast. We're talking about signs that you are working for a toxic boss. Before the break, I gave you a few signs, and I'll give you a few more before we get out of here. Another one that I could definitely think of that appeared on the meme was no transparency. If they're gatekeeping information, that's a sign that you have a toxic boss. Your boss should be able to tell you not only what their vision is for you, but they should also be able to tell you the vision for the company or wherever you're working, and how and why and what success looks like. And anytime that there's something going on, that should be a telltale sign. If the company or where you're working is doing well financially or not so good financially, that's what you need to know. And that makes me think about this company that I work for, and I talked about it in previous episodes. I'm not going to name the company, but I mean, you can look it up. I distinctly remember, and this was before the mortgage crash in 2007. I distinctly remember I was working for this company, and I remember they sent out an email, and, we had heard some whispers that, some departments weren't doing that well. And so they said, okay, department A, B, and C come to this off-site meeting at, this hotel. And so they rented out this hotel, this ballroom or whatever like that. And so, we're thinking we're going to have lunch, and they catered the lunch and everything like that. So A, B, and C departments had to go to the lunch. Department D had to stay on site. They didn't say why, but Department D, y'all stay here. We have a meeting, blah, 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 blah. And, some people really wasn't feeling or understanding what was going on. So everybody in Department A, B, and C were at this luncheon, and the people that were at Department D, that were in Department D, was still at work, and they came in and told the people in Department D, you're fired. As of right now, we're going to get your stuff. We're going to help you get out of here, and you all will be out of here and off the premises by the time these people trickle back in from this luncheon. Dirty as hell. I mean, no type of transparency. Nobody said, hey, well, we may be laying some people off. We may be letting some people go. None of that. But that taught me a very good lesson. It taught me that, where I was working was probably the most toxic place I've ever worked in my life. I mean, all kind of shit was going on right there. But what it taught me was just because I was in group A, that didn't mean that at some point I'm going to be in the same position or same boat where the people who were in group D were in. So you're not special, and if they could do that and do it as slimy and as grimy as they did those people, they'll do the same to you. You're not any different in their eyes. It just so happens that they're not touching your department yet. Another way that is another sign that you were working for a toxic boss, if there's unequal treatment. Obviously, if some employees are being treated better than others, people have favorites. I get it. You can have a situation where there's some people who have, because here's the thing. Most people in a lot of jobs have worked with someone else in that job. I don't care if you're a school teacher. You probably worked somewhere. If you're at school A, you've probably worked with someone else in that school at some point in time, or there's someone in your school who has worked with someone else. I mean, like, that's the easiest way to get a job is for you to, for a job to be hiring, and they're going to come. If they come and say, "Hey, 12 Kyle, we're hiring. Do you know anybody that needs a job?" I'm going to recommend one of my friends. I'm not going to recommend anybody I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to put it on Craigslist or something like that and say, "Hey, we're looking for a job. My company's looking for a job." No, I'm going to go find somebody that I know, and then I can vouch for them and so forth and so on. And that's how it works. And I get it. So people have relationships, but when you have favorites and you cater to those favorites, and those favorites could be people that you're cool with, people that you're super cool with. For a boss, it could be the people that, they brought in. Their favorites could be the people that they hang out with, or it could be the people that they sleep with. I've seen that happen quite a few times, actually. And, unfortunately, that's how the world works sometimes in some places, in a lot of places, I should say. So yeah, if you have a boss that plays favorites, if you have a boss that is not cool on treating everybody the same, if you have a boss that's probably sleeping with some of your fellow employees, then yeah, that's a sign that your boss is kind of toxic, just a little. Another sign that your boss is toxic. If you don't get any recognition, if they don't give any recognition and they don't make you feel appreciated, that's definitely a sign that you have a toxic boss. Bosses like that really, really, really have a problem recognizing people, particularly those who are excelling at their position, which is really the opposite, because I think if you recognize people when they're doing well, if they're doing well, that may motivate them to work even harder, or maybe make the people that's around work a little harder, so they can be like them and get on that level. It's almost like a coach, right? As a coach, if you're coaching a team, you have to understand how to manage people, and you have to understand that, yeah, you may have a player that, they're going to get going once you pat them on the back and tell everybody what good of a job that they're doing. And then you may have some that, you got to put your foot in their ass for them to move. That's what it is. It's no different from being a boss. The difference is a good boss or a great boss would recognize someone who is doing something. And, constantly, even if they're not doing anything, you still tell them, "Hey, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you." And not just, free pizzas on Fridays or jeans Friday, because I had that too. The pizza lunches and the jeans on Friday, that ain't showing appreciation, man. Appreciate me in my bank account. Send me a couple of more dollars. Hit me with a bonus that nobody else is getting. Break me off based on what it is that I'm doing. Pause. So yeah, I need that. I need that. But when you're in that position and you don't recognize, your employees, yeah, that's a sign that you're a toxic boss. What's another one? Let's see. Definitely. If where you work has a high turnover ratio, that's a sign that you probably have a toxic boss. particularly if the employees are being treated poorly. Who wants to work for a jerk? Nobody. Who wants to work for an asshole? Nobody. And one of the things that I always ask in an interview is, what happened to the person that was here before me? Why are we feeling this? Why are you feeling this position? Did they leave because they found a better opportunity? Were they promoted, to another department? Were they promoted up? Or did they just quit? Like, do you have a lot of people that quit? And if it's a revolving door and it's a high turnover, yeah, you probably should run. That's not a good look. That's not a good look at all. And that is definitely a sign of a toxic boss, is that, the door is constantly opening and they're constantly interviewing and everything like that. That is the clear-cut sign that people aren't being treated well, treated with respect. And you definitely can't play with anybody's money. Like, you play with people's money, like you could get unlifed for that. Another sign, if there's unclear expectations. I mentioned a little earlier before the break, like, you have to be very clear and direct as to what it is that you want from your employee. If your boss can't tell you what they expect from you, or if they're always moving the goalposts, oh man, that's a problem. Like, who wants to work for a boss like that? Nobody. Because you'll never hit the target, because the target is always moving. I mentioned moving the goalposts. There's no way that you can be successful if your boss is not being very clear to you as far as what they expect from you. Should there be a manual that says, okay, hey, you do this, this, and that, and then you're meeting your job expectations? That's one thing. But it goes beyond what's in your job description and what you're getting paid for. It is your boss's job to be clear and concise as to what it is they want from you and what it is they expect from you. And if they can't do that, then that's clearly a sign that you're working for a toxic boss. Let's see, I'll give you one more. If there are always perpetual fires that need to be put out, that's a sign that you're working for a toxic boss. Here's the thing. You're not Smokey the Bear, right? You're not there to put out fires. But if your boss is constantly putting out fires and they're always in reactive mode instead of being proactive, they're being reactive. Yeah, that's a clear sign that, that's a toxic boss, because there's something about them that they are putting themselves into and subsequently will be putting you into if they can't handle. You don't want that. You don't want that at all. And it takes me back to the company that I mentioned a little earlier. There was always fires. There was always fires. There was always something going on. And I'm really surprised that I stayed there for, I think I was there, was it 4 years? Was that 4 years? Was it? Okay. Yeah, like 4 years. 4 years there. And I mean, like, the first year was cool. And then after that, it was crazy. But like, there was always fires going on. There was a lawsuit that happened where some people at the company had to give a deposition, excuse me. They had to give a deposition in court. There were some things that were going on that I clearly thought was like illegal. But my boss, who I could not stand, and I mentioned on a previous podcast, and it's worth repeating, like, I'm probably one of the easiest people to get along with, particularly at work, because again, my check, respect. That's all I want. I don't need nothing. I don't even need a whole bunch of conversation, right? But I distinctly remember, asking my boss, like, hey, like I would say, okay, well, hey, I'm going to turn this down. This right here does not work. It doesn't fit. I think something illegal is happening here. And then my boss would come back and be like, oh no, I'll approve it. I'll just sign off on it. What? Wait, what? Say what? You're going to approve it? Now, so that means you're undercutting my authority. If you put me in a position to make a clear decision based on the company, and then you come back and undercut it, then I don't have any legs to stand on at this point. And I'll never forget it. That my tenure at that company ended. It ended in the right way for me. I distinctly remember we had a lady. I don't know if she's still around. I'm gonna call her Miss Carol. Miss Carol, she came to me and she pulled me to the side and she said, "Hey," she said, I'm going to tell you this because, I like you. I like how you get down and you seem like a nice young man." She was old school too. She was like, she leaned in. She was like, "This motherfucker about to blow up. You better get your ass out of here as soon as you can." And so at that point, she told me basically that they were going to be offering a severance to people to voluntarily leave the company because, at some point they were going to start laying people off. And so she told me, "Hey, get your money, get out of there before the roof cave, before the roof caves in." And I took her up on her advice. I took my severance. It wasn't a golden parachute, but it was a little parachute to, get me out get me off the mountain, I guess. I flew out of there, right? And almost 6 months to the day after I quit, the feds kicked in the door, waving the 4-4. Oh my God! Now it's one thing to have your business to be interrupted, but it's another thing when the federal government comes in, shuts the lights off, takes all of the computer data, everything, and to find out that you're running a bunch of illegal stuff and a whole bunch of mess is going on. I can't, there's so much stuff that I can get into about that company, and the company no longer exists. So I'm free to say what I want to say as far as that's concerned, but there's no need to talk about it because they're a bunch of losers. But anyway, but I'm glad I left, because it was a very toxic environment. My boss was very toxic. I don't like her. I still don't like her to this day. If I ever saw her on the street, I'd probably cuss her out. And I'm not even that type of guy, but I don't like her. And she knows why I don't like her. She really tried to make work hell for me. And I'll be honest, I don't know why, because it wasn't like I did anything, listen, I'll put it like this. It could have been because I wasn't sleeping with her. I don't know. Because she was sleeping with somebody else. I don't know. Maybe that's why she wanted to give me a hard way to go. I'm married. I don't want you. I ain't into white women. And I definitely not into white women who think that they're black. But I digress. In conclusion, if you have a toxic boss, it's best to get out of there. It truly is. I think one of the things, and I mentioned it on a previous podcast, and it's worth repeating, I think one of the things that the pandemic taught us is that the American worker kind of realized their value. There's a lot of people who went to work and worked a certain way and did a bunch of things when they were, up until the pandemic. And then after the pandemic, they realized, like, I'm working. Why am I doing all of this? Why am I working 60, 70 hour days and 60, 70 hour weeks and, only to be let go for nothing, or let go and nobody's caring about me or my family. Nobody's caring about me or my health. Nobody's caring about me and my kids, that type of thing. Because, I say this all the time, and shout out to Dr. Cole, my man, Dr. Cole from South Carolina State University, one of my business professors. One of the first things he told us in class in financial management, he said, if you don't own the company, you are expendable. Everybody's expendable that does not own the company. And those words stuck with me. And I appreciate Dr. Cole for telling us that, because, at the end of the day, you are expendable. And we're no longer in that time frame where, like how it was probably when our parents or grandparents grew up, where you could go work for General Motors for 30 years and then you retire at the company, and, you get a fat check and pension and all that kind of stuff like that. That doesn't happen anymore. This newer generation of kids, for them, working at a job for 5 years is a long time. So, the idea of bouncing around is cool with them. Fortunately for me, I'm at a position where I'm not trying to bounce around. I really enjoy where I work now. I get a check and I get respect. So I can't complain. And there's no micromanagement. I'm real super cool with my supervisor. And I don't have any complaints. I really don't. But I had to get to this point, or I had to find this place before I got here, because I went through, some junk to get here. And I had some great stops along the way. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, we all go through that. But if you have a toxic boss, just be aware of the signs. And if you see the signs, don't think that the writing on the wall isn't for you. It probably is. And the writing on the wall is probably telling you to get on, and you probably should. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. This has been another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. The podcast drops every Thursday, and then we have bonus episodes on Sundays. If you're on social media, hit us up. We're on Blue Sky, Twitter X, Facebook, Instagram, what else? Threads, TikTok, at 12 Kyle Podcast and at 12 Kyle. If you're on YouTube, thanks again for watching. We appreciate it. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification button. That way you get notified when we drop episodes, because we always drop YouTube before we drop the audio. What else? Also, if you want to contribute to the podcast, you can contribute financially. Hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. We also have merch. If you look down in the description box, there's a link that says merch. Click that link. You can buy 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. And if you did not know, we also have a new baby. We have a new baby. The new baby is called the Rap Soul Podcast. It is a podcast where there's an intersection of discussion from the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to rap, soul, hip hop, and R&B. It's the best music podcast that you never heard. So check it out. And more importantly, tell a friend to tell a friend. And those podcast episodes drop every Monday at midnight. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. This has been another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast, where we talked about the signs of a toxic boss. Again, I'm your boy, 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's. Cheers.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP, because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Quick quiz. What injury law firm has been helping people in the District, Maryland, and Virginia for over 35 years? That's right. It's Greenberg and Betterman. Auto accident? Medical malpractice? Get a free consultation by visiting gblawyers.com and feel better.